गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरु साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः. We are in Sadachar and verse number 27. Last week we saw that the terms tvam and tat, the tvam was with reference to jiva and tat was with reference to the Ishvara, and what is the unity between them and what do they imply, what is their direct meaning and what is their implied meaning. And we were told, look at the implied meaning, what they are suggesting. And having told that, now there we came to understand that the implied meaning of jiva is also, we get lost in the word jiva and we get lost in the word Ishvara, but the implied meaning of both is that jiva consciousness and Ishvara consciousness. So consciousness is the common denominator, so our attention must go on the consciousness which is being called as jiva, which is being called as Ishvara. And similarly, that consciousness in jiva is again that same consciousness called a waker, a dreamer, a deep sleeper. It's just names being given. Just because names are being given, that does not mean that that name is true. So shift your attention to what that name suggests. And thus, when we see that jiva is also consciousness and Ishvara is also nothing but consciousness, so the identity between the tat and tvam is established, and as a result we see that this self alone is Brahman and it is one without a second. The teacher then proceeds to examine other theories. Karma shastre kuto jnanam tarke naivasti nishchayaha sankhya yogau dvidha pannau शाब्दिका शब्द तत्पराः. This is verse 27 of Sadachar, and here it says, in the karma shastra or field of actions and duties, there cannot be knowledge of the self. Logicians bind themselves in the web of their own logical arguments. Sankhya and yoga only succeed in perpetuating the duality. Grammarians have difficulty in transcending the literal and technical meaning of the terms. So, karma shastre kuto jnanam. Here the Purva Mimamsa is a school of thought, and there the emphasis is on the karma kanda. Karma kanda is the various rituals, etc. And for them, they say that for a karma kanda to take place, for when you are doing puja, when you are doing havan, when you are doing any project you begin in this world, these 5 parameters should be favorable, and they are an appropriate place, a performer of the action, the proper instruments, appropriate efforts, and cooperation from the phenomenal forces are required for the performance of any action. But now tell us, are these in your control? Are the phenomenal forces under your control? Is the place, and yes, you can choose, but what may happen there? Earthquake may come. The wind may blow. For one moment, these forces seem to be favorable, but the next moment they can be totally against. And these five uh, are required to complete any ritual successfully. But and why do we do any of these any of these rituals? Only because we have a vested interest in gaining some result. And as long as we are wanting any result, as long as there is a doer, that I have to do a ritual, that I have to do a japa, that I have to do a sadhana, that I have to realize, that I have to. But here we are not talking about the realize and all that. Here we are talking about karma. So as long as there is a doer to do an action, there is one big disease which is virus which is spreading, and that is dehatma buddhi adhyas. That is, I am the body notion keeps on increasing. So those who do actions in the world, those who do open orphanages, build schools, do charity, do yoga, all these people are too much involved in I have to do, I have to do, I have to do, I have to do. The body identification keeps becoming stronger and stronger and stronger. This has to be dropped. Because when a person comes to know himself, at that time there is no possibility of any desire arising in the mind of the person who has realized. There is no desire possible. But this is not the case for the people who are addicted to karma. Then tarke naivasti nishchayaha. Through the nyaya or logic. This nyaya school of thought is also a methodology by which we come to the conclusion that truth is. When we see the smoke, we say there is fire, isn't it? This is called inference. And in this logic, inference is the main. And we have seen in Patanjali Yoga Sutra, what are the three ways of coming towards the truth? That is through inference, through direct perception, and through the words of the teacher. These are the three ways. But here in the Nyaya, yes, direct perception, you are seeing and therefore you are inferring. And this inference is based on direct perception. And perception is by the mind, through the mind, isn't it? But self is not a product of the mind. And if self is not the product of the mind, how much arguments you are going to give? How much discussions you are going to have? No logic can ever, or no argument can ever prove the truth, because proving the truth is like, they say, through mathematics you can come to know the truth. All you can do is you have given that truth, you have called it as X factor. How can you come to a value of that X factor? It is impossible. There is a so-called value according to the logicians, according to the mathematicians. But as long as you are giving a value to that truth, till then it is only a finite value you are giving, isn't it? And as long as it is finite, it is not the truth. It may have zillions of zeros in front of it, but still it is a finite value.